Hi, I'm Sumeet Sarkar, violinist and composer based in Los Angeles. I want to thank you first of all for having me on um, this interview and on this platform. So let's begin. Well, I was born as soon as the apartheid had ended in 1994. I was born a year before. My parents were still studying medicine in India, and they were given the opportunity to then migrate back into South Africa during that time. Um, it has been an interesting effect on my life where we have this responsibility to represent ourselves as the generation of change and carry out our culture in South Africa to keep it going. And with this freedom of expression, at first it was food. Being the Bengali boy that I am, I loved just being surrounded by so many fine cuisines in my life. But I felt that as a musician, I could say more than Western art music, and so enter Carnatic and Hindustani music in my life, where I had a thirst to learn about this. I didn't have the resources growing up in South Africa, like the internet or recordings of a sitar, for example, that I could reference. Um, the only thing I really had with me was my violin and a tape recorder. And I went to Gujarati school at the time where I would record my priest, go home and try mimic it on the violin. The violin being the closest to the human voice, this was very easy for me to do at that time, other than a piano where we can't slide or sustain notes and increase the volume as there's a release. So that was my experience opening up my ear to music. However, I do wish I had the resources to learn. But then I later discovered that with Indian music, what's said in paper is not really said in the heart. We do need to learn from our elders or mentors as it's passed down to us with that experience and knowledge. So it was the right time for me to prepare with other techniques, how to play in tune, how to internalize my rhythm, and later on it was enhanced when I had the opportunities to travel to India while visiting my family over there. I'd open myself and immerse myself more to Hindustani music and whatever was around for me to grab at that time. And I still am till this day. So, from what I recall, I played the violin since the age of 4. Um, Before that, my grandmother was my first music teacher on the piano, where we learned a lot of devotion songs and prayers together. And I was just in love with the human voice so much, and I couldn't sing myself. And I don't think I can right now, although I try. Um, but just having that expression and seeing the violin in various styles of music now, from jazz, even hip hop, to rock, to world music and Arabic music and Indian music with Carnatic music. It's so beautiful to see how much it could travel. And as a child, my dream has been to travel the world as much as I can. And so brought on that marriage at such a young time for me, where I was just hungry to grab everything off the shelf. I was fortunate that my parents were musicians while studying medicine, and they let me carry on this path at a young age, which then later developed into my career. My mom was a pianist and my dad was a singer, and they both jammed together in school, and they saw probably how much fun I was having myself and the playfulness that it gave them a warm place to keep supporting me in that. So I was very thankful for that experience growing up. Um, But what really grabbed my attention as a child had to have been my urge to break the rules. Whenever someone told me something could not be done this way, or started to correct me on how I should play, I just go into the back room or compose and write my own variations of it. And that rebelness, that playfulness that I still have me in today has been my drive that keeps me playing the violin. I would say yes. I can't imagine how my life is without it, comparing it. Um, People have noted that I was given perfect pitch at a young age, and I have been able to write anything I hear immediately without referencing to a piano or violin, or be able to sing out a note in its variable pitch, which has been nice. I was able to get by a lot of music exams without having to study. Um, but what really got me into the natural effect of wanting to compose music or having an interest in music was storytelling. As much as we studied the history of Bach, for example, or Beethoven, or even Ravi Shankar, my own story was something I wish I could express more than words. And so into the orchestra where I could write for so many instruments, giving just a slight drop of water into the ocean, and that would just disperse into other musicians being able to express themselves. So that really became a huge spider web for me where I could plant an idea and just see it grow from there and see it expressed even more. And yeah, that was really the root of it, was just being able to tell a good story and going into film composing, and having that interest to see what a director thinks and paint what's already on picture into even more words sung or even more notes played. That became my passion from there and started to grow even more with improvisation. I would say consistency. Definitely, I want to build my experience in what I do here in Los Angeles, and it's growing with so many opportunities to work with wonderful people in the near future. Um, I have also been developing my own technology to be able to conduct an orchestra in virtual reality and get the hit points of a movie linear in time, and instead of clicking with the mouse for hours or sitting with the calculator, just be able to do that with my free will. I've also been able to control my own instruments and synthesizers with my hands or my breath controllers. So I've been taking that further into sample modeling to provide services for other composers who want live instruments along with me playing the violin or viola or the erhu. One thing I do want to make available to others is just the access to this information. Growing up when I was young, all I had was a violin and a tape recorder, and we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have records at the time to listen to. But now that we do have access to this, I want to make myself available and just provide whatever I can to anyone who wants to know what can I do with my skill sets? How can I build my skill set? And would you like to work with me? Even I'd love to collaborate with as many people as I can. So yeah, feel free to get in touch with me if you need that.